I've worked on this so hard with my staff and my church that you could pretty much go to literally tens of thousands of people and you'd get the exact same answer. Because I'm so convinced that clarity is important, that we exist to see people saved, delivered, redeemed, and fulfilled. We want the lost to get saved. We want the saved to experience deliverance. We want them to find their purpose. And we want people, in fact, we've even given some street language. Let me give you the 4 cups in street language. You ready? Here it is. Everybody needs to know God, find freedom, discover purpose, and make a difference. Know God, find freedom, discover purpose, make a difference. That's why we exist. I want to help you. If you don't know why you exist, I would encourage you to go ahead and take those, okay? But if you do know why you exist and it's not those, fine, make it clear. So that if I went to anybody on your staff or anybody on your team and I said, why do we exist here at Thousand Hills Church? Oh, here's why we exist, 4 things. We want people to know God. We want people to find freedom. We want people to discover their purpose, make a difference. Are you ready for this? We make those so clear that they're in our bulletin for our visitors. Welcome to Church of the Highlands. We do 4 things here at this church. We'll help you know God. You'll find God through our weekend experiences. You want to find freedom and experience community? Get in a small group. You want to discover your purpose? Get on the growth track. You want to make a difference? Join a team. And from day 1 to the visitor, first day the visitor comes, they hear the 4 things we do. So every Sunday, whoever's hosting the service comes up after worship. Hello, everybody. We're so glad you're here today. Hey, how about a big hand to everybody who's here for the first time? Hey, you have a bulletin in your hands. It tells you the 4 things we do as a church. Day 1. Everybody say clarity. What's the word? What's the word in Dutch? Helderheid. Yeah. Come on, I can't get the like yo, you guys. Helderheid. Is that close enough? Come on, say that word together. Don't spit on me when you say that. All right. So. Oh, it's awesome. And English is such a boring language. Everything we just say, you guys got the and yesterday Sebastian was telling me like the 10 different ways you can say the letter A. I was like, you got the A and the U and the R. I was like, I can't do all that. It's hard for me. All right. I'm trying. I really am. It's clarify. We got clarify. Why do we exist? And make sure you say it. Put it on the walls. Put it on shirts. This is why we exist. This is why. And I would submit to you that it needs to be centered around why God. So don't have a vision, have God's vision. You don't need to have a vision. God already has a vision. Okay. So you clarify that. Second question. What do we do? What are we going to do? Because now I got to figure out a way to deliver the vision. So write this down in your notes. Systems deliver the vision. That's what a system is. Okay, so you have a system. Everybody has a system. You had a system for coming to this. You got up, you got dressed, you got in a car. You had a goal. The goal wasn't to get dressed. The goal of your day wasn't to get dressed and get in a car. The goal was to come to a conference. So you created a system to deliver that vision. You got dressed and you got in a car. Am I making sense, everybody? I'm just trying. Okay, so the system delivers the vision, so the system is not the vision. So we don't exist for church, small groups, grow track, and a dream team. Our purpose is not church. Our weekend services delivers the vision of people getting saved. Our vision is people getting saved. You see the difference? And the reason why I say that is because I'm convinced most churches globally have fallen in love with their systems. And they love their systems more than they love the vision. They do. And that's why churches won't change. Churches are 50 years behind society. Y'all know that, right? The way and people resist that change. And they have made holy the wrong thing. So we make windows holy and chairs holy and robes holy and songs holy. And that's not what's holy. Those were the systems to deliver what is holy. And that is people getting saved, delivered, redeemed, and fulfilled. Knowing God, finding freedom, making a difference. Discovering purpose and making a difference. That's what's holy. Amen, everybody. Okay, so don't be afraid to change your systems. So go home and just clarify why do we exist, and then clarify what we're going to do. Now, how do you know if you're doing the right thing? If it's delivering the vision. So I don't care what you do if it works. You don't have to have a growth track, in other words, as long as you help people discover their purpose. So if you figure out a better way to do it, then that's the best way. I'm not here to promote a growth track. I'm here to promote the idea that people need to discover their purpose. So how do we know if we found a good one? It works. So I had a guy actually drive 4 hours to come spend it. He said, I'll buy you lunch if I can spend 1 hour with you to ask you some questions. I said, why do you want to come? He said, my church hasn't grown in 20 years. I'll buy you lunch if I can ask you some questions. I said, okay, come on. So he comes into my office, and we got an hour. I have an hour to fix 20 years of church, okay? So I have an hour. All right. So I got right to the point, Sebastian. I said, so I know everything. It's not all about Sunday, but if Sunday doesn't work, nothing works. So I said, well, let's start with Sunday. Tell me about your church service on Sunday. He goes, well, I said, how long's the service? I said, it's about 2.5 hours long. Well, see, even you got, I was like, I did the same thing. I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty long. He goes, I know. I said, well, how long do you preach? He goes, about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I said, man, that is too long. And he goes, oh, I'm really good. Well, I laughed like you're laughing. And he didn't think that was funny. And he goes, well, I'm not changing that. And I said, well, then your church is never going to grow. And he got up and left and didn't buy me lunch. He was so offended. He came back. You'll buy me lunch? Come on, you're my new best friend. You know that, Rosita, huh? All right. So he called back 3 months later, crying and apologizing. And he said, I'll do whatever you say. I'm desperate. And what he had done is he had made his preaching holy. He'd rather hear himself speak than his church to work. And I said, all right, if you're serious about this phone call, next 4 Sundays, you got 35 minutes, my man. 35. So I want you to go 35. He goes, man, I don't know if I can. That's my introduction. I said, well, then. And I said, look, they already know you. Nobody's coming. Nobody's new is there. So, get to the point anyway. So you don't need an introduction. Everybody knows you. Duh. I said, get right to the point. Go 35 minutes. And I said, honestly, you have a lifetime to teach these people if they come back. Right now, they don't want to come back because you're going so long. Their hair are going out of style by the time you finish a message. And so anyway, so he goes, okay, you ready for this? 4 months later, he called back. His church had almost doubled, and that's all he changed. I said, brother, every time somebody leaves your church, there's one of two emotions. Thank God that's over, or is it over already? The second emotion is better. So what I'm saying is, I want you to reevaluate what you do and ask yourself, is it delivering the vision? And if it's not meeting your own expectations, change it. So let me say it this way. If no visitors are coming, then something needs to change. Stop defending something that's not working. So I don't really care what you do if it works. But we are responsible to deliver the vision that God has for people. So we ask ourselves the question, what do we do? And notice I didn't tell you what to do. I just want it to work. Okay, question number 3. How are we doing? So how are we doing? So do you even know how well you're doing? And honestly, about half the churches I work with, they don't even know how well they're doing because they haven't checked. So they don't know how many people are getting saved. And they don't know how many visitors are there. And they don't know because they're not collecting the data. They don't know. That's like, I actually had a guy, he was diabetic. And I said, well, how's your blood sugar? He said, I quit checking, guy. I got tired of bad news. That does not make it go away if you quit checking. We have to keep checking. How are we doing? Well, as Sebastian says, we're not celebrating numbers, but numbers are indicators of health. So if you passed out right now, we'd call the paramedics. The first thing they're going to do is check your numbers of your temperature, the number of your heart rate, the number of your blood pressure. Because numbers are going to tell them what to do with you next. So you can't help yourself if you don't know how well you're doing. All that to say is you do need to get in the habit of checking things, indicators of things. Don't celebrate numbers, but you need to have them still. You're counting the offering, aren't you? And honestly, I think sometimes we end up counting the wrong things. I mean, I'm not saying don't count the offering, but I'm just saying some people think the whole success is how many came, what was the offering. Well, that's not what God asked you to do. God asked you to get people saved, delivered, redeemed, and fulfilled. So I want to know how many lost are coming, how many are coming who got saved, how many saved are in groups, how many were in the growth track. We had 600 and something people that went to the growth track this past Sunday night. I looked at the report. I get it on Tuesday. How many are on the dream team? How many are serving? I mean, just you need to know. So why do we exist? You need to answer that question for yourself and make it measurable. You need to ask yourself, what do we do? And make sure you're doing things that actually work. Then we're going to ask ourselves the question, how are we doing? Fourth question is something that I need an entire day to teach, and I'm going to do it in 2 minutes. And that's sad. Because this is why when we do this, the American version of Grow, it takes us 3 days. But this one's huge, and I can't overstate how huge this is. And that is, how will we succeed? What drives it? And I'm going to give it to you in one answer, but it's not going to be enough. But I'm going to give it to you the answer in one question, in one word. And it's culture. Your culture. The culture. So behind all of the vision and the systems and everything we do is a feel. There just is. And either your church is life-giving or it's not. So I know people with small groups and it's life-giving, and people with small groups and it's not life-giving. So they have a vision and they're doing the same thing, and in one place it works, and the next place it doesn't. But it's not the system's fault, it's the culture. Let me say it this way. Culture trumps everything. Because you can almost do the wrong thing in a great, life-giving, spirit-filled, people-loving, empowering culture than doing the right thing in a bad culture. Culture is amazing, and you've all experienced it. You've been in places where the culture was right and everything about the experience was right because the culture was right. And you've been in places where they read the same Bible, have the same prayers, sing the same songs, and you couldn't wait to get out of there. And it's culture. And so part of creating a great church is knowing how we're going to succeed. Well, that's things like we need to be incredibly authentic. We just do. If there's anything that made Jesus great, it was the fact that he was so real. He just walked around, talked about sheep and big trees, and the guy was just so He was so accessible. Today's pastor has a reserved parking place and is hard to touch, and where Jesus was just anything but that. Jesus was incredibly relevant. He talked about things that people cared about. His sermons weren't even sermons. They were stories. He was the best storyteller. He'd get right in there and just grip your heart with these everyday. Let me tell you about a man who had 2 sons. And the crowd just leaned in. And he just understood how to be relevant. If Jesus was anything, he was enjoyable. I'm telling you, if there's not laughter in your church, the culture's not right. Because the joy of the Lord is your strength. I mean, there needs to be coffee and laughter and then just a little bit more coffee. Can I get an amen, somebody? I mean, just enjoy. Yeah, and I've tried to help us laugh today. Why not? Why not? The God who sits in the heavens, Psalm 2 says, the God who sits in the heavens laughs. I mean, we just got to create a cult. Jesus had kids jumping. They are peeling the kids off of him. Do you know what kind of person you have to be a kid magnet? It's not like Hollywood shows him all serious. He's malnourished. You know, and he's always doing I don't know what that means, but it's, yeah, that's what that means? There's only 2 up, though. Yeah. Oh, that's the 3rd one? Yeah, so that's what it means. Okay, so, but the Bible talks about kids piling on top of him, and crowds wouldn't go home to eat. It had to have been more enjoyable than sometimes art and movies show. And why can't our church, you see what I'm saying? I'm talking about culture, everybody. A culture that's accepting. We're prostitutes. We're wiping his feet with her hair, you know, and just think about it. He created environments where people who were far away could feel loved. And can we create environments like that? I'm just saying culture. How will we succeed? Here's the last question. We'll spend about 15 minutes in Q&A. And that is, and this is probably the best one out of all of these for you to really kind of come to grips with before you go home, and that is, what's most important right now? What's most important right now? So it would be the worst thing in the world for you to go home and change everything. Please do not do that, okay? But you probably ought to go home and at least, we use the word tweak. Is that or just adjust one thing. So let me tell you in this illustration, and then we'll ask questions. I asked this question. I get my entire staff. We have about a little over 200 people on paid staff in our church. And I gather them together in a room like this, and we sit there for 2 hours to come to the answer to the one question. And we say, for the next 6 months, if Church of the Highlands got better in one area, what area, if it got better, would have the biggest impact on our church? Isn't that a great question? So what one area, if it got better, would have the biggest impact on our church? And every year, collectively as a team, we come to we come to an agreement of the answer to that question, and then we spend the next 6 months working on the one area. So it's like, you ever seen a wooden bucket? So it has all these slats, we called it. It's just the wooden slats around the bucket, and it's got that ring around it. Let's just say one of the slats is real low, and the rest of them are high. The water level of the bucket is being determined by just one. So if you raise the level of that one, it raises the level of the whole. So what one area, if your church got better in one area, what one area, if it got better, would make the biggest difference in your church? So go work on that. Isn't that a great tip? I just love that. It just makes it so simple and so real. And there's so much more we'd want to say, and there's a whole lot we could teach you guys. And I just want to say before we do the Q&A, and we're going to have to peel out, we have to get to the airport. We're headed flying into Switzerland, and going to teach this in Germany tomorrow, and then I'm at a conference in Zurich for 2 days, and then I'm taking my daughter. We're going to do a 2-day holiday, just she and I, in Salzburg, Austria, everybody. It's the 50th anniversary of The Sound of Music. And so she's wanted her whole life to go to the Sound of Music tour, and her daddy is going to take her. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do. So, yeah. So, come on. Let's do some Q&A for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna turn. And Pastor Sebastian is gonna finish by telling you, if you like what you heard, we're gonna tell you where you can access online all of these materials.